Shalom, Israel. This is Brother Benaiah,
Brother Ananias.
Brother Ezekiel.
and we are A.O.I. Right, tonight is another Friday night Sabbath class that we do every Friday night at 7:30, around that time, Lord's will. And we just want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah for allowing us to have a happy Feast of Tabernacle, to have us a happy Sabbath day, and to continue on to keep God's word in the midst of darkness, right? To be that marvelous light that we were called to be in this dark world. But first, I'm going to start off with Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64, right? So tonight's topic, right, we're going to be talking about Islam, and is it of God or is it from man? That's the question. Because you have a lot of religions on this earth, and they have to be exposed in these last days, right? Read what you got, King.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Now, these are the curses that will befall the Israelites. They will have to serve other gods with neither their fathers have known, even wood and stone. Now, these different emblems or these different symbolisms, that's talking about Christianity and it's talking about Islam. But we're going to get into that as we read on in some different articles. But first, I just want to prove to the people, right, that, hey, we are the children of Israel, the Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We're God's chosen people. The reason that we fell off, the reason that we're in a lower state is we broke God's commandments. So now it's time to come back to the commandments, right? Keep them and have the faith in Yahweh Shah, who the world called Jesus Christ. That's what we must do in the last days in order to be saved, right? Now read verse 68 for me, King.
Verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
The word Egypt, right, in this context right here, that word means slavery or bondage. You can look at that in Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2, right? Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2. And then also, when you look up the word Egypt in the Greek, it's Aegyptos, right? Which means slavery and bondage, right? This word Egypt translates into slavery or bondage, right? So Egypt, where they were, that was the land of slavery, right? Where the Israelites were. But they got delivered out by the hands of Moses. But the Lord said, once they came out of Egypt and through the mouth of Moses, he told them, he said that I will bring you back into Egypt again, meaning back into slavery again with ships. This is how we know that the Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, these are the chosen people. That's how you know that the Ishmaelites, that's how you know that so-called Arabs, so-called white man, the Korean man, the Chinese man, the Japanese man, they have not gone through these things. So therefore, these are not the Israelites. We are the biblical Israelites that fit all the curses of Deuteronomy 28, right? Especially verse 68. He said, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there you shall be sold into your enemies. So we have enemies, right, in this walk. We have enemies of the other nation. You understand? We have the people who put us on slave ships, people who sold us on auction blocks, the people who changed your name from Israel to Johnson. These are your enemies, right? So we have to understand that in these last days, right? So I'm going to go to the article. Well, give me that in Wikipedia, brother, if you don't mind. Right, so we're gonna look up Islam, right, and how it started, when did it start, who did it start by. We're gonna find these things out tonight, right? So if you can read that for me, King, we're gonna read the first 3 paragraphs.
All right. This is Islam from Wikipedia. It says Islam submission to God is an Arabic monotheistic religion centered primarily around the Quran, a religious text considered by Muslims to be direct word of the God of Abraham, or Allah, as it was revealed to Muhammad, the main and final Islamic prophet. It is the world's second largest religion behind Christianity.
So now going back to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 64, you still there, King?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Read verse 64 again.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
That wood and stone is representing Christianity and Islam. These are the two biggest religions in the earth. These are the two main religions that the Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans are upon. When you look at the so-called Mexicans, right, over 80% of them worship Christianity, right? You look at so-called Black people, a lot of us, we're in Islam as well. So these are the two main religions that have taken over the world, and the Lord is showing you and revealing to you in the last days that these are the nations that you should not follow. These are the gods that you should not worship, right? That are made with stone and wood, right? Keep reading on that, King.
It is the world's second largest religion behind Christianity, with more than 2 billion followers, or around 25% of the world's population. Islam teaches that Yahweh, or that God, is merciful, all powerful, and unique, and has guided humanity through various prophets, revealed scriptures, and natural signs, with the Quran serving as the final and universal revelation, and Muhammad serving as the seal of the prophets, the last prophet of God. The teachings and practices of Muhammad, documented in traditional collected accounts, provide a secondary constitutional model for Muslims to follow after the Quran. Muslims believe that Islam is the complete and universal version of a primordial faith that was revealed many times through earlier prophets such as Adam, Abraham, Moses, and Jesus.
And now see that now it says Muslims believe that Islam is the complete and universal version of the prematorial faith that was revealed many times through earlier prophets such as Adam, Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. Right. So now they believe in Jesus. So this is the whole point. They believe in Jesus, right? So they believe that he was a prophet, but they seem to sometimes despise his word. But we're gonna get into that a little later, right? Keep reading.
All right. Among others, these earlier revelations are attributed to Judaism and Christianity, which are regarded in Islam as spiritual predecessor faiths. They also consider the Quran, when preserved in classical Arabic, to be the unaltered and final revelation of God to humanity. Like the Arabic religions, Islam also teaches of a final judgment, wherein the righteous will be rewarded in paradise and the unrighteous will be punished in hell. Religious concepts and practices include the 5 pillars of Islam, considered uh, obligatory, acts of worship, and following Islamic law, which touches on virtually every aspect of life, from banking and finance and welfare to women's roles and the environment. The cities of Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem are home to the 3 holiest sites in Islam in descending order. Let's see. Islam originated in the 7th
That's
century.
it on that. That's it on that. So now we're gonna go to Hebrews chapter 11 and verse number 9, right? Hebrews chapter 11 and verse number 9, and then we're gonna get started with that first.
11 and 9.
Yes, sir.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 11 and verse 9. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in.
Start at verse 8, brother.
Okay,
Start at verse 8.
verse 8. By faith Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whither he went. Verse 9. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacle with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise.
So Isaac and Jacob were the heirs of Abraham through the same promise. Just like they said they follow Abraham, Isaac, right? Or they follow Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, right? So Abraham, he was the one who was going to get the promises. It said through all the families of the earth, Abraham, they all the families of the earth through Abraham, they would be blessed. Now go to verse 18 in Hebrews 11 and 18.
All right. Verse 18. Of whom it was said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
Right. Go to Romans chapter 9, right? Romans chapter 9. So it said, "In Isaac shall thy seed be called." Now you have Ishmael, and we're going to get into that later. But Ishmael are the Arabs, right? These are your people who are in Islam now. These are your Arabs that are in the scriptures. But it said, "In Isaac shall thy seed be called." We come from Isaac, right? We come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Black Hispanics and Native Americans. That's who we descend from. We don't descend from Canaan. We don't descend from damn Hamites and damn Africans that drink blood and damn eat raw liver. That's not who we come from, right? We come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Read what you got, King. Romans chapter 9 and
9 and 1.
read verse number 7.
Book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 7. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
Said neither because they are the seed of Abraham, right? Are they children? Ishmael, right? We're going to get into that. Ishmael, he was of the seed of Abraham. Isaac was of the seed of Abraham. Esau was of the seed of Abraham, right? So it said not because of the seed, not of it said neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they called children. Are they all children? But in Isaac shall thy seed be called. So Isaac, he was the one who was chosen, right? Just like Noah and his 3 sons. Shem was chosen out of the other 2, right? And Cain, he would be a servant of servants to his brother. So we have to understand that the Lord actually chooses people, right? And he chooses who he wants. Just like you have an artist who creates things, right? And they can choose which art or which painting they want to be in the gallery, which one they want to put up on their main page to show off, right? So we're the ones on the Lord's main page who he wants to show off, his children, right? So let's go to the book of Genesis chapter 21 and verse 12. Genesis chapter 21 and verse number 12. All right.
Book of Genesis, chapter 21, verse 12. And Yahweh said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of the bondwoman, and all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken unto her voice, for in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
So just like in the New Testament, it says the same thing in the Old Testament, right? The New Testament, right? Although we didn't call it the New Testament, right? These Christians and these people of the world, they the ones who call it the New Testament, but it says at the end, it says,
for in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
That's right. For in Isaac shall thy seed be called. You know, just like it says in Romans 9. So the Bible doesn't change, right? God doesn't change. He called the chosen people from the seed of Isaac in the Old Testament and in the New Testament and throughout the Apocrypha. So the Lord doesn't change. So how do you have Christians that just make up stuff and say the Lord is for everybody now? The Lord always chose his people, right? Keep reading verse 13.
All right. The book of Genesis, chapter 21, verse 13. And also of the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation.
Mm-hmm. So the Lord said he will make a nation out of the son of the bondwoman, Right? Read.
Because he is thy seed. Verse 14. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and took bread and a bottle of water and gave it unto Hagar.
That's it on that. So the Lord said he will make a nation out of the bondwoman, right? Which would be Ishmael. But let me get Genesis chapter 17 and verse number 4. Right? Genesis chapter 17 and verse number 4.
The book of Genesis, chapter 17, verse 4. As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations.
So Abraham, right? It says in verse 3, and Abraham fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. So you have a lot of Christians, they'll say, well, Abraham was the father of many nations. Yeah, this is true, right? But that doesn't mean that God didn't separate the nations, right? So I got to get a precept on that. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse number 8. I'm going to read that real quick. Deuteronomy 32 and verse 8, and it reads, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. So the Lord divided the nations, right? He created different families out of Abraham, out of different men of the scriptures. Out of Lot, he created Ammon, and he created Moab out of Lot. So he created different nations out of one people. Just like Isaac, you had Jacob and Esau, right? These were two different nations. So the Lord divided the different nations. That's why you have different peoples on the earth. So if the Lord didn't want division, why do we have different people on the earth now? Right? Divided. Everything is of God's will. So you have Christians that have to explain that, right? But let's go to Genesis chapter 12 and verse number 3, right? Genesis chapter 12 and verse number 3.
The book of Genesis, chapter 12 and verse 3. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curse thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed.
So the Lord said that he would curse anybody who cursed Abraham. And he said, and in thee all shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Now you got a lot of Christians that'll take that and say they can get the kingdom. Being blessed doesn't mean you just gonna get the kingdom. The Israelites, they have the promises to the kingdom, right? Let's go back to Romans chapter 9, right? We're gonna and hold your place there. We're gonna go back there to Romans chapter 9 and verse number, I think, 3.
All right, this is the book of Romans, chapter 9, verse 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh.
Now, this is Paul speaking, and he's talking about the Israelites, talking about Yahweh Shai, right, who is Jesus Christ. That's who he's talking about. That was his brother and his kinsmen, right? His family, his same bloodline, right? Who are what?
Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises.
That's what belongs to the Israelites. All those things that the Lord has just named right here belongs to the Israelites. And you see the covenants with an S on it, the new covenant and the old covenant, that belongs to the Israelites. The promises belong to the Israelites. The service of God, that's why you don't see any other nation serving God being a priest, right? Being a priest and actually doing the work of the Lord in the scriptures. That's why you don't see that, because it wasn't given to them for that to be. Now let's go back to Genesis chapter 12 and verse number 3.
The book of Genesis, chapter 12 and verse 3. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curses thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed.
Keep reading.
Verse 4. So Abraham departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abraham was servant was 70 and 5 years old when he departed out of Haran.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 5. And Abraham took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came.
That's right. Keep reading.
Verse 6. And Abraham passed through the land unto the place of Sakim, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land.
All right. Keep reading. Verse
Verse,
7. Just the
verse
point.
7. Verse 7. And the Lord appeared unto Abraham and said, unto thy seed will I give this land, and there builded he, and there builded he an altar unto the Lord who appeared unto him.
So Abraham, he traveled to the land of Canaan, and that land was going to be given to him, which would be later called the land of Israel, right? Where we're from. We're from Jerusalem, right? And give me the book of Genesis chapter 16 and verse 11, right? So Abraham is the key factor here. And you have people in Islam, they believe in Abraham. They believe that Ishmael was actually chosen, but Ishmael wasn't chosen. He was blessed. But we're going to get that, right? Genesis chapter 16 and verse 11.
The book of Genesis, chapter 16, verse 11. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord have heard thy affliction.
So the Lord said that she would be bearing a son, and she would call his name Ishmael, right? And it says, now Ishmael, that's a Hebrew name, you know. And it says, and thou shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. Right now, let's go to Genesis chapter 17 and verse number 19.
Book of Genesis, chapter 17, verse 19. And Yahweh said, Sarah, thy wife, shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him.
Said, and with his seed after him. Right? Let me get let's see. Okay. Matter of fact, Genesis 17 and verse number Ishmael. Okay, read that again. Genesis 17 and verse 19 through 20.
All right. Book of Genesis, chapter 17, verse 19. And Yahweh said, Sarah, thy wife, shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him, and for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him.
And with his seed after him, meaning Isaac and his seed after him would be blessed. But you know, there was a difference between Jacob and Esau, but we're going to say that story for a different day, right? Keep reading verse 20.
Verse 20. And as for Ishmael,
And as for Ishmael, he was already born. Ishmael and Isaac, they were brothers, right? So according to the scriptures, Ishmael will actually be Jacob's uncle, right? Keep reading.
All right. It said verse 20. Genesis chapter 17, verse 20. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation.
So the Lord said, I will bless him, right? Which is Ishmael. I will bless him and will make him fruitful and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he begot, and I will make him a great nation. Now, Ishmael, he had 12 sons, just like Jacob had 12 sons. But Ishmael wasn't chosen. Now, Ishmael got blessed. He got blessed with the fat of the earth. I think, is that in the same chapter?
No.
Okay. But Ishmael, he got. Let me see. I'm gonna see. Reading verse 21. Reading verse 21.
All right. Said, but my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year.
And the Lord made that plain. He said, and as for Ishmael, so all his families, they got blessed, right? They got blessed with different parts of the earth, right? Different riches, multiplication in their nation, right? So the Lord actually blessed them, but the Lord didn't give them the kingdom of heaven. He didn't give them the promises and the keys to the kingdom of heaven. He didn't even give them the laws of God, right? He didn't give it to them. He gave it to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the Lord made it plain that he did not give it to Ishmael. And you have your so-called Arabs today, they know for a fact that they descend from Ishmael. So it's saying plain right here in the Bible that they are not the chosen people, you know. And they read what is called a Torah. The word Torah means law, right? That's where they have to read according to their unholy Quran, right? So now I'm going to go and get something out of this book called Babylon to Timbuktu, right? I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna let you read that, brother, if you don't mind. Can you see that? You need me to blow it up some more?
No, I'm good.
All right.
You just want to highlight it?
Yeah, and I'm gonna keep reading on down.
All right. What page is it?
Page number 45 and Babylon to Timbuktu.
All right. This is the book of From Babylon to Timbuktu, page 45. It says, when Muhammad was born, many Arabs were still worshiping the sun, stars, spirits, and idols. The Arabs possessed 360 idols, one for each day of the year.
So before Muhammad, before Islam was even created by man, they were worshiping the stars, spirits, and idols, right? So just like all your other heathen, they were doing the exact same thing until Muhammad came around. Keep reading.
You got yes, you got Deuteronomy 4 and 32.
Deuteronomy 4 and 32. You bring it up.
All right. Let me get that right quick. Damn, that's not it. Hang on.
I'm gonna bring it out.
No.
What you looking for, King?
The one where it said that they the nations would be serving the sun and the moon and the stars. That was their lot.
Okay. Let's see.
Let's see. I thought I had wrote that down before I got started.
You talk for a minute. I'll see if I can find it.
All right. So what we're going into is talking about Islam and how beforehand, just like Egypt had a different God for every day of the week or every day of the year, Islam had the same thing going on. Once again, showing you the connection between our past and these other religions or these other kingdoms throughout history. So I'm gonna go back and read that one more time and
try Deuteronomy 4 and verse 19.
All right. Yeah, that's it.
All right.
It's precept to go with what we just read. The book Deuteronomy. You got it, King?
I'll read it for you. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 19. And lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided into all nations under the whole heaven.
You see that? The Lord divided those things to the other nations. That's why you see all these other nations worshiping the moon, the star, and the sun. The Lord did that. They didn't just wake up one day and decide to start doing these things. That was their lot. Just like we were divided, or the other nations were divided according to the number of the children of Israel, so were they not divided to serve these or worship the idols or the sun, the moon, and the stars. And if you pay attention, that's Islam's symbol.
That's right.
Sun, the moon, and the star. Mainly the moon, though, the crescent moon. But I'll go back and read for you.
That's right. I'm gonna get a precept while you going back to that. Book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, and verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. So the stars, the sun, the moon, these are the signs of heaven, right? Blood moons, crescent moons, full moons, these are the signs of heaven that the Lord has set up for us to be able to tell time, to know when what seasons are around. But the heathen, they're dismayed at them. It says, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them, for the customs of the people are vain. And these customs are vain and vanity and lies, right? They have no other God to look up to, so therefore they seek out other gods, just like the brother brought up. Right?
Going back to the article, it's from Babylon to Timbuktu, page 45. Right. And it says Muhammad was born AD 570, 4 years after the death of the Emperor Justinian, who was descended from the tribe of Quraysh and the family of Hashem. His mentality was prodigious. In his youth, he was never taught to read or write, but his imagination was superlative. Muhammad was an extraordinarily handsome man and eloquent in motivating men with power of words. In the early years of Muhammad's life, he passed his time as a shepherd boy. We must remember that many successful men have arisen from insignificant and humble conditions, watching the sun day by day and stars by night. There you go. Left opportunity for Muhammad to contemplate in solitude and reflect on the events and profundities of this world.
So basically, Muhammad, he had the gift of gab, just like the Christian pastors have today. He was a motivational speaker, right? He might have been like the people's favorites, right? So he was like a just like you vote for your president now, right? They have your favorites, and they try what they call it, the popularity vote, different things of that nature. So he had that type of gift on him, right? But keep reading.
Says after Muhammad became a camel driver,
he was a camel driver, right? That was his occupation, a camel driver, right? Keep reading. And just like your average Ishmaelite now, you know, up in New York, they pretty much like taxi drivers, man, camel drivers, right? Keep reading.
It said after Muhammad became a camel driver, he traveled to remote and intriguing lands. He led his caravans to Persia, Syria, and Egypt, transacting business with merchants of every kind. On his business trip, he met with Jews, Christians, and members of other sects. He interrogated them concerning the tenets of their religions. He frequented the environment of the Jews and their rabbis, mostly because they were merchants and omnipresent ethnic group. Because he could not read or write, his ears were attentive and keen to everything that the Jews related to him. Muhammad learned and extracted much from the Jewish religion and compounded it with his new religion, Islam.
Now, this Jewish, that's actually talking about our religion, the Jews' religion, right? But it says everything that the Jews related to him, Muhammad learned and extracted much from the Jewish religion. Hey, like basically, just like the scriptures is like a fruit, right? Even the knowledge that they was kicking out was like fruit, but he extracted it, he juiced it, he put it in a juicer, and he sucked all of the knowledge about it.
That's so
he put Muhammad basically made a religion blending smoothie, right? He took a lot of different fruit from us, put it in a blender, mixed it up. Now some people can't even tell the difference, you know. and they think it tastes good. But let's go to go to page 50 and read the first paragraph.
All right. Page 50. Story was with Muhammad. He had come to the point of no return. He became a religious extremist in order to give his people a better life on a rapid scale. Muhammad came to the conclusion that all means of persuasion had been exhausted. The period of patience was past, and he was now determined to propagate his religion by the sword. For he said, I, last of the prophets, am sent with a sword. The sword is the key to heaven and hell. All who draw it in the name of the faith will be rewarded. Muhammad became a martial prophet, and the pagans and stubborn Jews became his victims.
So it says pagans and stubborn Jews became his victims. This is the always the Jews that you see that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord all throughout the scriptures, whether it be for good or for bad. So these are the ones who stood stiffly and they kept the commandments as their forefathers, right, told them through the hands of Moses through the Most High, right? Keep reading in that second paragraph. Right. So, and it says up in this earlier paragraph, it says he became a religious extremist. Right. So, this religion that he created, he really took it to heart and believed it. It says in the scriptures, as a man thinketh, so is he. So, Muhammad, but really believing that he created a new religion, he was really believing in that and pretty much believing himself as a prophet, you know. And the Lord didn't even give him the knowledge. He just overheard it and spewed it back out. Right?
Right.
Read what you got, King.
Says in the year 627, the Battle of the Falls occurred. The Jewish tribes were defeated by the armies of Muhammad. 700 Jews were gathered in the marketplace and offered the alternative, the Quran or the sword. But the
See
devout,
that? See that? So it says 700 Jews were gathered in the marketplace and offered the alternative, the Quran or the sword, just like they do in Christianity. You either white Jesus or you're gonna get the sword. You're gonna get put to death. This is why we always say that our people got forced into Islam. Our people got forced into that false religion. Now you love it so dearly when you wear your sock on your head and you wear your long robes, thinking you are Ishmaelite, you know, imagining riding on camelbacks through the desert. You know, you are actually in a false religion. This got forced on you and your forefathers. That's why you have to look up the sub-Saharan slave trade when the Ishmaelites, right, the Arabs, they had you in slavery before the people in Christianity. That's what it tell you. Matter of fact, let's go to Joel chapter 3. Joel chapter 3 and verse number 4.
The book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 4. And it says, Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head?
Now, Tyre and Zidon, these are two Hamitic, right? Two African nations that drink blood and eat raw liver. These are your actual Hamites with horns in their forehead, right? We do not descend from them, right? We descend from the tribe of Judah, right? The tribe of Benjamin, right? We are the actual Israelites according to the Bible, and we're not Africans and filthy, nasty people, you know? Keep reading verse 5.
Verse 5. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things.
We are the goodly pleasant things, right? The silver and gold. We are the Lord's, right? Can you read it?
Verse 6. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians.
So the Palestinians, right? The Arabs, these are your Arabs, and they sold us into the Grecians, right? They sold us into the Grecians. They had us in captivity before um, the Grecians, which are the Greeks, which today would be your modern, your so-called white man, right? Your Romans, right? Keep reading.
That ye might remove them far from their borders. Verse 7. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither you have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head.
And the Lord said he will return your recompense upon your own head, right? So let's go back to reading Babylon to Timbuktu, right? So the whole point with that was, hey, you got forced into Islam. That was forced on you, just like Christianity was forced on you and white Jesus, right? Islam was forced on you as well. Now you got to kiss a rock and catch mono and walk around it 7 times and get tired when you could have just rode your bike, you know. But keep reading.
All right. It says in the year 627, hold on. Yeah, 627, the Battle of Falls occurred. The Jewish tribes were defeated by the armies of Muhammad. 700 Jews were gathered in the marketplace and offered the alternative, the Quran or the sword.
Mm.
But the devout Jews were accustomed to martyrdom. They did not hesitate in their choice.
So they
Muhammad,
were we're accustomed to that thing, right? Our spirit is accustomed to following Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, no matter what. That's why we follow him today, regardless of what people think, right? We used to being martyred. We being martyred now. They call us a hate group, right? We get fingers pointed at us, middle fingers thrown up, you know, all kind of different things. Keep reading.
let me get a precept right quick, King.
Yes, sir.
This is the book of Second Maccabees, First Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 50. Says, now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. So this was Mattathias talking to his sons, telling them, reminding them to be zealous for the law, to give your lives for the law. And like the brother bringing out, we always been on that level. Well, we always been ready and willing to give our lives for the laws of our Father, for the laws of the Most High. But I'll keep reading for you.
Right.
It says, but the devout Jews were accustomed to martyrdom. They did not hesitate in their choice. Muhammad carried out his bestial threat, executed the Jews, and the women were sold. There was another city northeast of Medina called Chaibar. This city was the headquarters of the Jewish power in Arabia. After a long siege, the city capitulated to Muhammad. Under the rulership of Omar, the Jews of Chaibar were transplanted to Syria. Muhammad attacked tribe after tribe and caravan after caravan that were going to the city of Mecca. These acts enraged the Meccans, and they equipped a large army to destroy Muhammad. In the ensuing battle, Muhammad was almost killed. Finally, the prophet marshaled his forces and entered the city of Mecca. The entire city was abandoned because its inhabitants were afraid of Muhammad. Muhammad decimated the idols in Mecca. However, he did not demolish the temple. When the Meccans saw that Muhammad did not destroy their temple, they returned to the city and joined his religion.
Right. So he was going around and forcing people into his religion, right? That he created, right? And it wasn't given to him by God, but given to him by his own mind, right? So let's go to page 49 in Babylon to Timbuktu, right? So we just proving to you that, hey, Islam, this is a false religion that was created, right, by Muhammad. Hey, Muhammad, he was actually the first not Israelite, but he was the first person in Islam because he's the one who created it.
Right.
You know.
All right. Muhammad tried to construct his religion as closely as he could after the Jewish religion. He favored the Jews by accepting many of their laws and traditions. When the Jews refused to be converted, he commanded his followers to stop turning to the holy city of Jerusalem in prayer, but rather to turn to the city of Mecca.
So it in the scriptures, the Lord say in First Kings, give me that brother, First Kings chapter 8 and verse, I think it might be verse 46. First Kings, maybe 8 and 48 or something like that. 47.
Yeah, that's it.
First Kings chapter 8. And verse verse 48. First Kings 8 and
Kings
verse 48.
chapter 8 and verse 48. And so return unto thee with all thine heart and with all thine soul, in the land of their enemies, which led them away captive, and pray unto thee toward their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, the city which thou hast chosen, and the house which I have built for thy name.
So we will always pray towards our city, towards our land, right? So instead of praying towards the holy city of Jerusalem, right? Hey, he was trying to force us to pray to Mecca, to that Mecca stone. Now you have that passed on, just like Christianity was passed on through our forefathers and our foremothers. Islam was also passed along too. Right? Keep reading.
All right. Going back to Babylon Timbuktu, page 49, says, when the Jews refused to be to be converted, he commanded his followers to stop turning to the holy city of Jerusalem in prayer, but rather to turn to the city of Mecca. He changed the Jewish Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement, or fast day, which he had accepted for the month of Ramadan.
Now they call it Ramadan, but that was actually our day. So what you'll see is Muhammad listening in, being that camel driver, listening in, not being able to read and write. He was listening in and copying and extracting all of the laws that we had into his own religion. So therefore, you have the Day of Atonement. Now he called it Ramadan, right? We pray to our holy city in Jerusalem. Now he want to pray to the city of Mecca, right? You'll see all these different parallels in the Quran, and that's why they tell you to read the Bible. In the Quran, we're going to get to that. We're going to get some unholy precepts out of the Quran, and we're going to show you and prove to you that's an actual religion, right?
Right.
Keep reading.
He said he changed the Jewish Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement or fast day, which he had accepted for the month of Ramadan. Muhammad changed the Jewish Sabbath from Saturday to Friday.
So he changed it from Saturday to Friday, right? So he just all around just jacking our religion, jacking our heritage and making it into a religion. Right, keep reading.
Let me get a precept right quick.
You got it, King.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand into a time and times and dividing of time. It's also going into talking about Esau as well. But both of these different religions, or both of our enemies, or both of these other nations, thought to change the times and the laws and the commandments that were given to the Israelites. And we reading it right here through history. We'll talk about Christianity another time, but today we talking about Islam. But they changed our Day of Atonement to Ramadan. They changed the Sabbath to Friday. And guess who changed it to Sunday? That'll be that wood. That'll be that cross. That'll be Christianity. Doing the same thing. Changing our times. Right. But I'm going to keep reading for the bro.
That's right.
It said, we have another parallel with Christianity. In the 4th century, the church changed. Well, here we go. In the 4th century, the church changed the Sabbath day to Sunday and reorganized its calendar to make Easter separate of Passover. Like Christianity also, Muhammad included in his Bible, the Quran, accusations concerning the Jews. Nevertheless, the Quran glorifies many biblical personalities.
Of course, because he gets all of his personalities and all of his laws from the Bible.
Right.
Everything he got it from the Bible. He copied and pasted. The word Quran means to recite, a recitation. What is he reciting? He's reciting the Bible, right? Just like he heard it and he recited it, right? Keep reading.
All right. In order to win the pagans into the church, Christianity adopted many barbaric customs and traditions. Likewise, Muhammad, to gain the loyalty of the pagan Arabs, adopted many of their beloved customs.
Because we read that before this, they were worshiping stars, the moon, and all these different pagan customs. So in order to even make it interested to them, he had to add those pagan customs into his new religion that he extracted from the Bible. And just like Christianity, just like the so-called white man, all these other Christians, they had to extract paganism and extract Christianity and put it in the blender and mix it up and make a big fruit smoothie out of it, right? So now you have all these different religions that are mixed up and they have made different kind of fruit smoothie. And the reason I keep using that because the Lord said, man may not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of his mouth. So you can blend up a smoothie and give it to somebody and they don't even know what's in it, you know? But if you give somebody fruit whole, you give them an orange, you know what an orange is. You get them an apple, a whole apple, they know what it is, a grape. But if you blend it up, they don't even know what it is. But it tastes good, right? So these are just different religions that are mixed up. And they took all of their customs and all the things that they do, well, the righteous things that they do out of the scriptures, right? Keep reading.
The cobblestone, an idol, was to receive high regard in the new religion. Also, the pagan temple at Mecca was to remain as a holy site.
Right, and it was to remain as a holy site. Now they go and walk around it 7 times and bow down to it. Right, now this is Babylon to Timbuktu on page 48. All right, page 48, and under Islam and Judaism.
All right. The Prophet Muhammad adopted many principles and laws from the Jewish religion. First of all, the basic idea of monotheism, which is the belief in one God. The Jewish confession of the unity of God is Shema Israel, Adonia. Well, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.
So, right. So the Lord is one, but he's not the God of everybody, right? That's why they always try to say that Allah and Yahweh Shah, Yahweh is the same person. That's not, because that's a whole different religion and a whole different doctrine. Although the word Allah means God, that's not talking about our God, the Heavenly Father. Just like on your dollar bill, they say, "In God we trust," but that's not talking about Yahweh, because they're not talking about that God. They talking about all the other pagan gods that they like to worship. Right? Keep reading.
All right. The Mohammedan slogan is as follows: there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the prophet of Allah. Muhammad adopted also the main details of the Jewish calendar, the Day of Atonement, the Sabbath, much of the Bible, and narratives from the Midrash, and many points of the ritual law. Incidentally, the Jews pray 3 times a day facing the city of Jerusalem, and the Muslims pray 5 times a day facing the city of Mecca. Trying his best, Muhammad sought to convert the Jews to his new religion, but to no avail.
He tried his best to convert the Jews to his new religion. He tried his best. Like the Jews know They like, hey, this is the same thing that we read. You got this from us. So why will we transform and change and go into your religion when we understand that you got everything from us?
Right.
You know. Keep reading.
The Jews were adamant and resistant to change. The high esteem which the prophet held for the Jews was transformed to enmity, and instead of allies, he looked upon them as competitors. Muhammad needed the confirmation of the influential Jews to validate his mission, as all upstarts need the backing of someone influential. Muhammad therefore turned against the Jews and became their tormentor.
A tormentor. He tormented the children of Israel, right, and forced Islam upon them. Hey, rape your women, put hooks in your nose, right, and all of the above, right. And then read this last little thing that's highlighted.
All right.
And this is on page. I don't have a page on there.
44.
44. Okay, yeah.
Said, with the defeat of Jewish and Christian power in Arabia, the stage was now set for the rise of a new power on the world scene. This new power was Arabia, the Arabian
So that's
Empire.
it. That's it. We're gonna now we're gonna get some things out of the unholy Quran. All right. So let's go to Luke chapter 1 and verse number 31. Right. So now remember, they said they believe in Yahweh Shah, who the world calls Jesus Christ. Right. They believe that he was a prophet. Now, if they believe that he was a prophet, shouldn't they believe that some of the things that he said? Shouldn't they believe that the words that he was saying were from God if he was a prophet? So why don't they take the words of Yahweh Shah, right, that's written in red, and bring it out in the streets, or bring it out in their churches or their
Right.
synagogues or whatever, right? Because he was a prophet, right? So let's get that. Luke 1 and verse 31.
The book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 31, and it reads, and behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb and bring forth a son, and shall call his name Jesus. He shall be great and shall be called the Son of the Highest. And the Lord God shall give him unto the throne of his father David. And he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever.
And he said he
And his
will reign over
kingdom,
the house of Jacob forever, not the house of Ishmael, right? Not the house of Esau, but the house of Jacob, meaning he would reign over them. He would be their king, right? And their Lord, you know. So that's why, hey, when you look at the Quran and then you look at what Yahweh Shah is saying and the things that Yahweh Shah is lined up to do, then you understand that these are not the words of the Lord, right? It's the words of a man. Did you read verse 33 yet?
and he
Yeah,
shall
you
reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there shall be no end.
there should be no end of his kingdom, right? There should be no end. So that's and it didn't say Muhammad is going to be ruling, right? You don't find that in the Bible where Muhammad is going to be ruling and he was the top prophet. Although the Quran mentions plenty of prophets and plenty of people of the Bible in the scriptures, but why Muhammad is not mentioned in the scriptures, right? Give me Luke chapter 7 and verse number 16.
7 and 16
Yes, sir.
is the book of Luke, chapter 7, verse 16. And there came a fear on all, and they glorified God, saying that a great prophet is risen up among us, and that God have visited his people.
So it says a great prophet, it says that a great prophet is risen up among us, and that God has visited his people, right? Meaning this is talking about Yahweh Shah. Keep reading.
And this rumor of him went forth throughout all Judea and throughout all the region round about. And the disciples of John showed him of all these things. And John, calling unto him 2 of his disciples, sent them to Jesus, saying, art thou he that should come, or should we look for another? When the men were come unto him, they said, John the Baptist hath sent us
Right.
unto thee,
Let me skip down to verse 27.
All right. This is the book of Luke, chapter 7, verse 27. This
Wait,
is
start
he.
at verse 26. Verse 26.
Verse 26. But what went ye out for to see? A prophet? Yea, I say unto you, and much more than a prophet.
So
This is
Yahweh
he.
Shah told you, I am much more than a prophet, right? Yeah, I'm a prophet. I prophesy different things, but the whole Bible, the scripture is written of me. I'm here to save you from your sins. I'm much more than a prophet, right? Now the prophets in the Bible, they didn't die for our sins, right? And have our sins cleansed. You know, it was only through the hands of Yahweh Shah, the blood of Yahweh Shah. He's the only one who was able to open up the seals of the book, right? But keep reading.
The book of Luke, chapter 7, verse 27. This is he of whom it is written, Behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. For I say unto you, among those that are born of women, there is not a greater prophet than John the Baptist, but he that is least in the kingdom of God is greater than he.
So why they didn't say Muhammad? Why didn't Yahweh Shah say Muhammad right there? Right? But let's go to all right, so now we're gonna get some things. And my computer about to die, brother. I might have to get you to look some stuff up for me, man. Let's see. Give me a few seconds. So if you can look up the Google Surah. That's Surah, Surah 5 and verse 68, right? And this is coming out of the unholy Quran. So we're gonna find some verses or scriptures, or we'll call them. Let me see what we're gonna call them. Bear with me for a moment. All right. And let me know whenever you find that. Surah 5 and verse 68.
I'm no.
Right. So Surah, this is in the unholy Quran. Surah 5 and verse 68. It says, Say, O prophet, O people of the book. Right. So the people of the book are the Israelites. You have nothing to stand on unless you observe the Torah. Right. So it says, "Oh people, hey, he talking to whoever they so-called believe in Islam, right? They think that they're the people too, but ultimately the people of the book are the Israelites. It says, "Say, O prophet, right? O people of the book, you have nothing to stand on unless you observe the Torah. So you don't have any foundation unless you observe the Torah. This is where they get their laws from. Why they have a beard on their face, why they don't eat pork, why they don't eat shrimp, crab, and lobster, why they celebrate certain high holy days. This is where they get it from, right? And it reads,
Bear with me. Bear with me. It says, Say, O prophet, O people of the book, you have nothing to stand on unless you observe the Torah. So you got to read the first 5 books of the Bible in order to understand what the Torah is. That's the laws written of Moses. You back, brother?
yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Look at that, King. And it says, you have nothing to stand on unless you observe the Torah, the gospel, and what has been revealed to you from your Lord. So the gospel, that's even the New Testament, really. But they try to deny the New Testament. The gospels are Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, right? The gospel, the good news that we're the Israelites. That's the actual gospel. And has been revealed to you from your Lord, and your Lord's revelation to you, O prophet, will only cause many of them to increase in wickedness and disbelief. So do do not grieve for the people who disbelieve. So ultimately, they have nothing to stand on unless they observe the Torah. So they observe the Torah, which has the laws in it. Now, can you type in Surah 10 and verse 94? Surah 10 and verse 94. So the Lord saying, let me see, let me find it. Right, I think it's Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2. Right, Exodus chapter 20 and verse number 2, that we shouldn't serve other gods before Him. You know, so how can you have a book from your religion that allows you to read another book that has nothing to do with your religion? And read what you got when you get it, brother.
You said it was 72? 10 and 72?
10 and I think it was like 94.
Okay.
Let me see. 10 and 94.
All right.
Yeah.
You see it right here. That what you're looking for?
Let's see. Yeah. This is Surah 10 and 94. If you, O prophet, are in doubt about these stories that we have revealed to you, then ask those who read the scriptures before you. So it said, if you in doubt, ask of the Israelites. That's why, hey, because they can give you a better understanding, ultimately, in the Torah. Right.
Wow.
So it says, if you, O prophet, are in doubt about these stories that we have revealed to you, then ask those who read the scriptures before you. The truth has certainly come to you from your Lord. So do not be one of those who doubt. Right. So he's saying, have faith. Right. Ask the Israelites of the true doctrine. Ask the Israelites of what God's word is truly saying. So get Surah chapter 32 and verse 23. Surah chapter 32 and verse 23. So he's saying that you need to ask the Israelites, right? Surah 32 and 23. And
32, 23?
yes, sir.
All right.
Right. So this is Surah 32 and 23 in the unholy Quran, and it reads, "Indeed, we gave the scriptures to Moses." See, they talk about various prophets and various people throughout the Quran that are in the Bible, right? It says, "Indeed, we gave the scriptures to Moses." The Most High gave the scriptures to Moses. The Most High gave the commandments to Moses to give to the Israelites. All right, it says, "So let there be no doubt, O prophet, that you too are receiving revelations. And we made it a guide for the children of Israel." So they're saying they made it a guide for the children of Israel. But that lets you know that the children of Israel are mentioned all throughout the scriptures. It even tells you in the Quran that the children of Israel are the actual chosen people, right? That we're the actual chosen people that were chosen by God, you know? And so now let's go to Surah 6, Surah chapter 6, right? 6 and verse 163. And these are just scriptures, well, unholy scriptures coming out of the Quran that was showing you and proving to you that, hey, it does not validate the Bible and it actually contradicts the Bible. So if it contradicts the Bible and they tell you to read the Bible, right, it contradicts, it makes the Quran contradict itself, if that makes sense.
Did you say 6 and 1?
And 1 6 and 163. Yeah, I know these scriptures. It's hard to memorize these scriptures. We don't even want to memorize it. We'll just look at our notes for these because these are unholy scriptures, man. These are copyrighted, uh, copy copycat scriptures. You know.
All right. There it is.
All right. It says, this is Sirach 6 and verse 163. He has no partner, so I commanded, and so I am the first to submit. So Muhammad, he was the first to submit, meaning he was the first, what they call it. He was the first person in Islam, right? So basically, he was the first to submit because guess what? He was the first person to create it. There's no other submission to Allah before Muhammad because he was the one who created it. You know, so showing you that hey, the Israelites, right, are older than Islam. Islam was created around 600 AD to 700 AD, right? So now go to so this one is say Quran 4 and verse 34. Quran 4 and verse 34. And the ultimate message is our people must come out of Islam. They must come out of Quran. They must come out of false religion, and they must separate themselves from their enemies. Right? Your enemies have told you false burdens and false things according to their own words. Right? So you must leave off from your enemy. Otherwise, you will be thrust through in the last days with your enemy. You know.
Right. That's it right there.
Okay. Let's see.
4 and 34.
Yeah. Quran. Let me see. Did you pull it up? That's the same one as last time. That's 6 and verse 163. So this one is unless I need to refresh my page.
Hold up. I must have clicked off on something. 130. Said 4 and 34.
Yeah, Quran 4 and verse 34.
Go to 6. All right.
All right. Quran 4 and verse 34 reads, men are the caretakers of women, as men have been provisioned by Allah over women and tasked with supporting them financially. And righteous women are devout, obedient, and when alone, protective of what Allah has entrusted them with. And if you sense ill conduct from your woman, advise them first. If they persist, do not share their beds. But if they still persist, then discipline them gently. But if they change their ways, do not be unjust to them. Surely Allah is most high, all great. So it says, but if they change their ways, do not be unjust to them. Let me see. This not the one I wanted for real. It was the one talk about let me see. Matter of fact, go down to verse 35. Verse 36. No, that's saying that. But anyway, let's go. Give me Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2. Right. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2. Right. So this is just a few scriptures showing you that Muhammad actually recited, right, verses from the Bible, different things from the scriptures. He took our heritage and turned it into religion. So did Christianity as well. So we must leave out of these two main religions that the Lord told us not to worship. And the Lord said, "Thou shalt have no other God before me." So read that.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not.
So the Lord said, "Thou shalt have no." The Lord said, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." Right? Don't have any other gods before me. Not Allah, not Muhammad, not Christianity and white Jesus. These are other gods that have set themselves over the Most High. That's why the Lord told us to destroy these different nations' doctrines. Right? Give me Second Corinthians 10 and 4. 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse number 4. Right? Because these different doctrines, they have our people lost. This is why they have no self-awareness, right? They have no self identity. We and everybody else's religions, right? And everybody else is looking to us for fashion. They're looking at us for uh, for boldness, how to play sports, how to do different things on this earth, as far as like arts and crafts, whether it be construction. We the light of the world, really, even in darkness, you know. So everybody looks to us, but then we look to them for religion. We look to them for them to be our God, when ultimately we lords over them and everything. Right? Read what you got.
This is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4. I'll start at 3. But though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God, through Yahweh, to pulling down of the strongholds, casting down imaginations and everything that exalteth itself against the knowledge of Yahweh, and bringing into captivity every thought into the obedience of Yahweh.
And that's what we're here to do, to bring every thought into the obedience of Yahweh Shah. Right? Islam, they're not in obedience to Yahweh Shah, so we have to bring those thoughts, those religions, and cast them down in the front of our people and stomp on them and let them be in between our toes. Right? So with that, I'm Brother Benaiah.
Brother Ananias.
And with that, hey, you have to leave Islam. You must leave off from false religions. And we give all praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah. And with that, we say shalom.
Shalom.